Earth is a beautiful yet fragile system. Its climate hangs in a delicate balance. And that balance has begun to shift. Humanity is on its way to permanently changing the world we live in. So what do we do to alter the climate? We extract and burn fossil fuels as if our lives depend on it. As we go about our daily lives, greenhouse gases are being released in larger quantities every day. Temperature and CO2 levels rise more every year, and yet most of us continue to ignore it. Harming the planet has resounding impacts on society. Mass displacement, desertification, food and water shortages, all of these can stem from climate change. So what does this mean? Anthropogenic climate change is a crisis like no other. It threatens both the environment and our way of life. New Orleans and other coastal cities are especially susceptible to the effects of an altered climate. The passion and culture that exists could soon be gone. So what do we do?
In short time on Earth has created a lot of now pressing issues, the most overreaching of these being climate change. Greenlight New Orleans is a 501c3 registered nonprofit working in the New Orleans area to combat this issue and other effects on our society.
My name is Andreas Hoffman, and I am the director and founder of Greenlight New Orleans. I started installing light bulbs at the end of 2006 and officially became a non-profit in the beginning of 2007. Definitely for me, Katrina was an eye-opening experience, and in many different ways, in many personal ways, but also in an environmental way.
Right.
For me, it was it's partially man-made, but partially it is an environmental disaster, and brought the reality of climate change definitely closer to home.
Big cities tend to contribute to a higher scale of CO2 emissions, while large industrial farms bring methane and other waste. Using the sociological immigration, Greenlight's light bulb project addresses socioeconomic disparity and poverty within an environmental context.
Roughly about half a year after Katrina, we came back when the schools opened. We came back to New Orleans, and the first thing I did in my house as a small environmental action was change the light bulbs. It also made me think it wouldn't be amazing if a whole community would do this. And I reflected on what actually was holding me back. It's holding me back, it must hold a lot of other community members back too. One part was the money. It was definitely very expensive at that time. It's still more expensive these days. So to go out and spend all that money to buy 40 light bulbs is a very unusual thing. And then you have all these light bulbs. First of all, you have to get the right thing, then you have all these light bulbs, and then you go through the whole house and actually change them. That's the next big thing. As simple as it sounds, it is actually a hurdle. The whole community should do this. If the light bulbs are free, then that would help. And if we help them make the change, I wanted to be part of the rebuilding process, but I wanted to do it more with the environmental consciousness in it. So I had no intention that this is going to get a big organization. It was basically my personal action. Reach 26,000 homes. New Orleans is not that big. That I believe that the small action, a lot of people would say, what difference does it make? Once you multiply that thousands and thousands of times, it actually has a dramatic impact. So yes, it's one house at a time, but all the homes together have an energy reduction in the city of $25 million combined. So all of a sudden you have a huge impact, and at the same time the CO2 reduction is 250 million pounds.
Greenlight is an especially interesting case, as there are two projects featuring two sides of the spectrum of mitigation techniques. One is working within our current system in order to improve green technology, while the other pushes back against our current system of waste and production in the food industry.
So from purely environmental, it really changed more into a community project. And we know that we're going to be done with the light bulbs at one point. With the garden program, there is the environmental aspect still of the CO2 reduction. But at the same time, it has a financial aspect, the financial reduction, and it has a community aspect. And the community aspect in the garden program is hugely important. So eventually the end vision is that when you have thousands of gardens in the city, that people connect to each other. They share seeds, they share food, and they help each other out. So most people who apply for the program have heard from a friend, family member, or co-worker. They apply to the program. The difference to the light bulb is that before we send the volunteers out with the garden and with the soil and the plants, they have to take a class. So that gives you more investment, but at the same time it's important that people know what to do to be successful. Then we guide them through the process of growing, and as a return what we want from them is information. I actually strongly believe that the solution for climate change comes out of small projects and comes out of neighborhoods.
The issue of climate change is increasingly urgent and is applicable to the entire world. In order to address a problem so large, we will need a response equally large. We need a united collective response that surpasses the capabilities of local action. What are the viable solutions for such a multifaceted problem? Where do we go from here?